Meet Nico and Hazel. Nico works in IT infrastructure, managing server deployments, keeping the company network from catching fire. He brings home about $48,000 a year. Hazel handles marketing accounts for a mid-sized agency downtown. She makes $36,000. Together, they pull in $84,000 right at the US median. Their house is a 3 bedroom in a neighborhood where the lawns are mostly mowed and the cars in the driveways are mostly financed. They have 2 kids, a dog named Bear, and a credit card balance that hovers somewhere between we should really pay this down and it's fine, everybody has debt. Now meet Tom and Susan. Tom also works in IT infrastructure. He actually sits one floor above Nico. Same company, same title. He makes $48,000. Susan works in marketing, same field as Hazel, different agency. She makes $36,000. Their household income? Also $84,000. They have 2 kids and a golden retriever named Sunny. They live 4 streets over from Nico and Hazel, in a house that's architecturally identical, same builder, same floor plan, same square footage, same Costco runs on Saturday, same gas station coffee on the commute in, same public school drop-off line every morning. If you drove down their street on any given Tuesday, you'd look at the houses, the cars in the driveway, the kids' bikes on the lawn, and you'd say these people are living identical lives. But 25 years later, Tom and Susan have a net worth of $2.3 million. And Nico and Hazel have $143,000, and they're still making payments on a Honda Odyssey that's 4 years past its warranty. Hazel just checked their accounts last night and realized they have $3,200 in checking and $41,000 in credit card debt across 3 cards. Their retirement account balance? $112,000 combined. At age 59, same income, same starting line. A gap of over $2 million. My name is Thomas, and I've spent 40 years watching this exact story play out with different names, different zip codes, and the same brutal math. Today, we're going to walk through the 5 categories of decisions that create that $2 million gap. And here's what should make you uncomfortable. None of them require earning a higher salary. None of them require being smarter or luckier or knowing somebody. In fact, the data from Vanguard, the Federal Reserve, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics all point to the same conclusion. The income is almost irrelevant. It's everything you do after the paycheck hits that determines which couple you become. If you've ever felt like you're working hard and somehow standing still while other people are building wealth on the exact same salary, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because what we're about to break down is the math that almost nobody runs for themselves. And I'll tell you right now, factor 3 is the one that usually makes people close their banking app and stare at the wall for a few minutes. We'll get there. Let's start with the biggest gap of all. The one that compounds for decades. Here's the single number that separates Nico and Hazel from Tom and Susan more than anything else. $500 per month. That's it. The average 401k contribution rate in America right now, according to Vanguard's 2025 How America Saves report, which tracks nearly 5 million retirement plan participants, is about 7.4%, including the employer match. That means on an $84,000 salary, the average worker is putting in around $250 a month. It feels responsible. It's more than zero. You're doing the 401k thing. Tom and Susan decided to go to 15%. It wasn't comfortable. It meant saying no to the upgraded kitchen countertops that Susan genuinely wanted. It meant driving their Honda Civic 3 years longer than Nico and Hazel drove theirs. It meant Susan looking at the budget in year 2 and saying, I don't know if we can keep doing this, and Tom saying, give it 5 more years. If it's not working by then, we'll dial it back. They never dialed it back. $500 per month. What does that actually become? At the SP 500's historical average total return of 10.57%, and that's going back to January 1926. Almost 100 years of data tracked by Ibbotson Associates, $500 a month over 30 years, becomes $1,130,000. Over $1 million from one decision. Not a raise, not a promotion, not a side hustle. Just choosing to put $500 into an index fund every month instead of into a slightly nicer car payment or a weekend trip or the premium cable package. Now here's where it gets painful. Nico and Hazel didn't contribute zero. They contributed about $250 a month, right at the national average. After 30 years at that same 10.57%, that's $565,000. Still life-changing money. $500,000 from just showing up. But the gap between $500 and $250 a month over 3 decades? $565,000 difference. Over $500,000. Just from the contribution gap alone. Not from market timing or picking the right stocks or getting lucky with an IPO. From the difference between doing the minimum and doing a little more. And Tom and Susan didn't stop there. Because this $500 a month didn't happen in a vacuum. It forced them to make other choices. Choices that created even more gap. Let me show you how this cascades. There's a statistic from Experian's Q4 2025 State of the Automotive Finance Market Report that should make your stomach drop. The average new car payment in America is $767 per month. For a depreciating asset that loses roughly 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot, according to Kelley Blue Book. The average used car payment is $537. And 18.9% of new car loans have payments over $1,000 a month. Nearly 1 in 5 new car buyers is writing a 4-figure check every month just to have a car. Nico and Hazel lease. They've been leasing for 15 years. Every 3 years, there's a new Nissan Rogue or Honda CR-V in the driveway and a $613 lease payment that they've convinced themselves is just part of life. Everybody has a car payment. And they're right, 80% of new cars are financed according to Experian. Everybody does have a car payment, including the people who will never have $1 million. That's the part of the statistic nobody says out loud. Tom and Susan buy used. 3 years old, certified pre-owned, cash when they can. They drive their cars for 10 to 12 years. Right now, there's a 2018 Accord in their driveway with 140,000 miles on it and no payment. Their average monthly car cost, amortized over the life of the vehicle purchase price, plus maintenance minus resale, is about $320 a month. That's a car that costs half as much, still gets them everywhere they need to go, and leaves roughly $290 extra every single month that Nico and Hazel are handing to a finance company. Let's run that $290 difference. At 10.57% over 30 years, $655,000. And that's just the payment difference. It doesn't include the insurance premium gap new cars cost significantly more to insure. It doesn't include the depreciation hit that Nico and Hazel are eating over and over every 3 years. Tom and Susan are buying cars after someone else already absorbed the worst of the depreciation curve. Now let's stack factor 1 and factor 2. Between the 401k contribution gap and the car payment gap, we're already at over $1.2 million in difference. 2 decisions. An extra $250 in the 401k and buying used instead of leasing. We haven't talked about credit cards yet. We haven't talked about restaurants. We haven't talked about the mortgage. Here's the thing that makes this uncomfortable. Nico and Hazel aren't bad with money. They're not irresponsible. They don't have a gambling problem. They're doing what almost everyone around them is doing, and that's the most dangerous part. The median net worth in America, according to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, is $192,000. That's at any age, total. At age 55 to 64 specifically, the median is $364,500. After an entire career, after 30 plus years of working, the median American near retirement has $364,500. That is not a retirement. That's a nice emergency fund that might last you 5 or 6 years if you're extremely careful. Tom and Susan looked at those numbers in their 30s and said, "We're not going to be the median. Let's get to factor 3. This is the one I warned you about." The Federal Reserve Bank of New York's Q1 2026 Household Debt and Credit Report tells us that total U.S. credit card debt is $1.25 trillion, down slightly from $1.28 trillion at the end of 2025, but still over $1 trillion. The average household carrying a balance owes about $6,500 according to TransUnion. The average APR on accounts accruing interest, per the Federal Reserve's Q3 2025 data, 22.3%. 22.3%. There is no investment on earth that reliably returns 22%. The SP 500 averages 10.5%. Real estate, maybe 8 to 10% long term. The best private equity funds in the world target 20% and most of them don't hit it. But Visa and MasterCard, they get 22.3% guaranteed from the people who can least afford it. Nico and Hazel carry a balance. Not a massive one by American standards, about $5,000 across their cards most months. It fluctuates. Goes up during Christmas, comes down a little with the tax refund, creeps back up during summer vacation season. They pay the minimum, sometimes a little more when they're feeling flush. They tell themselves they'll pay it off with the next bonus, the next tax return, the next when things settle down. Things never settle down. Tom and Susan pay their card in full every single month. They have one credit card, not 3. They've never paid a single dime of credit card interest in their entire marriage. When I asked Susan about this once, she looked at me like I'd asked if they remembered to breathe. Why would you pay someone 22% to borrow money you already had? She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world, and it is, until it isn't. Here's the math. On a $5,000 balance at 22.3% APR, with minimum payments of about $150 per month, it takes approximately 14 years and 5 months to pay off that card. Total interest paid, roughly $7,200. You pay more in interest than the original balance, and that's assuming you never add another charge to the card, which nobody does. But Tom and Susan don't just avoid that $7,200 of interest. They take the $150 a month that isn't going to Visa and they invest it at 1057% over 30 years, another $339,000. Add that to the running total. Factor 1, $565 K. Factor 2, $655 K. Factor 3, $339 K. We're now at $1.56 million. And we haven't talked about where Nico and Hazel eat dinner. The Bureau of Labor Statistics releases something called the Consumer Expenditure Survey every year. It's a massive dataset tracking exactly how American households spend their money, broken down into hundreds of categories. The latest report, covering 2024, says the average American household spends $3,945 a year on food away from home. That's $329 a month. And it doesn't include the $6,224 a year spent on food at home groceries, mostly. Combined, that's over $10,000 a year just on food. Meanwhile, a 2025 AdWave study found Americans spend an average of $52 a month on streaming subscriptions, and that number is climbing 18% year over year. Deloitte's 2025 Digital Media Trends report puts the number even higher at around $70 a month. Add in Amazon Prime, the gym membership nobody uses, the cloud storage plan you forgot about, the meal kit delivery that seemed like a good idea, and Substract's April 2026 research says the average household is spending about $90 a month on all digital subscriptions combined. Nico and Hazel eat out 3, sometimes 4 times a week. Nothing fancy, Chipotle, the pizza place down the street, the diner by the highway for Sunday brunch with the kids. Occasional DoorDash on Thursday nights when they're both too tired to cook and the kids are screaming and it's just easier to tap a button on the phone. It feels small in the moment. A burrito bowl here, a pepperoni pizza there, a Netflix subscription, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus for the kids, Spotify Premium. That's it. About $400 a month between food out and subscriptions and convenience spending. They don't think about it. It fits in the checking account. The paycheck covers it. Tom and Susan cook at home 6 nights a week. Meal prep on Sunday. They have one streaming service. They rotate which one every few months so they can watch what they want without paying for 5 at once. They treat eating out like an event, not a default setting. A date night twice a month, a family dinner out once. Their monthly spend on food away from home and streaming subscriptions combined, about $100. That's a $300 difference every month. $300 that Nico and Hazel are Venmoing to restaurants and streaming platforms at 10.57% over 30 years. Another $678,000. Running total, $2.24 million. Let me say that again because I want this number to land. $2.24 million. From 4 categories of decisions, not 4 degrees. Not 4 promotions. Not 4 lucky stock picks. 4 categories of monthly choices that nobody thinks about because they happen $12 at a time. Read that again. $2.24 million from latte level decisions. The math doesn't care that it sounds like a cliche. It compounds anyway. Nico and Hazel bought their house the same year as Tom and Susan. Same neighborhood, like I said. Same builder. Same floor plan. Same square footage. Externally identical. But the mortgage strategy was completely different. Nico and Hazel put 5% down. It took them about 4 years to save the $21,000 they needed. The real estate agent told them they didn't need 20% anymore. Nobody puts 20% down these days. And she was right, the median down payment for first-time homebuyers, according to the National Association of Realtors, is around 8%. So 5% seemed reasonable. They went with the 30-year fixed at whatever rate the bank offered. They were just happy to get approved. The NAR says the median existing home price hit $417,700 as of April 2026. With 5% down on a $418,000 house at a 6.5% mortgage rate, you're financing about $397,000. That's a monthly principal and interest payment around $2,510. Add property taxes of about $350 a month and homeowners insurance at roughly $150. Then add PMI private mortgage insurance at about $200 a month because you put down less than 20%. PMI is an insurance policy you pay for that protects the lender, not you. It's money that buys you exactly nothing. Total monthly housing cost for Nico and Hazel, about $3,210. Tom and Susan waited 1 extra year. They rented a smaller apartment, saved aggressively, and came in with 20% down. Their mortgage was $334,000 instead of $397,000. They went with a 15-year fixed at a slightly lower rate, 6.25% instead of 6.5%. Their payment was higher on paper, about $2,860 a month for principal and interest, plus taxes and insurance, but no PMI, not a dollar. And here's the kicker. After 15 years, Tom and Susan's mortgage payment drops to 0. Zip. Forever. They walk into the bank, hand over check number 180, and from that day forward, they have an extra $2,860 every single month. Nico and Hazel are still paying their mortgage 25 years later. They still have 5 years to go. Tom and Susan paid theirs off 10 years ago. For the last decade, they've had an extra $2,860 every month that Nico and Hazel are still sending to the bank. That's $579,000 from the house decision alone. But wait, there's more and it's worse. PMI. Nico and Hazel paid $200 a month in private mortgage insurance for about 8 years until their equity hit 20%. That's $19,200. Gone. Money that bought them absolutely nothing. Tom and Susan never paid a cent of PMI because they put 20% down. And the total mortgage interest on a 30-year, $397,000 loan at 6.5%, Nico and Hazel will pay approximately $507,000 in interest over the life of the loan. That's more interest than principal. Tom and Susan, with their 15-year at 6.25% on $334,000, will pay about $178,000 in total interest. A $329,000 difference in interest alone. Money that could have been invested. Money that could have been their kids' college fund. Money that went to the bank instead of into their own net worth. Now add the $579,000 from the 10 years of no payments to the total. Let's stop and look at all 5 factors together on one table. I want you to see this in one place. $2.8 million from 5 categories of decisions that in the moment feel like nothing. $100 here. A dinner there. A car you'll pay off eventually. A credit card balance you'll clean up with the next bonus. A house you'll refinance someday. Here's the most uncomfortable part of this entire video. Nico and Hazel never once thought they were bad with money. They looked at their neighbors and saw the same cars in the driveway, the same restaurants, the same lives. We're doing fine. We're normal. And they were normal. Painfully, statistically, dangerously normal. The median American retiree has $88,000 in their 401k according to Vanguard. Not the worst case. The median. The middle. $88,000. That's about 3 years of retirement if you're extremely frugal. Tom and Susan are in the top 20% of net worth in America. Same income, same starting line, $2.8 million apart. My name is Thomas. I've been in finance for over 40 years, and I've seen this math play out with thousands of families. The people who end up wealthy aren't the ones with the biggest paychecks. They're the ones who, somewhere in their late 20s or early 30s, sat down and ran the numbers. Not the complicated numbers. The Chipotle numbers, the car payment numbers, the I'll start investing next year numbers. Here's what I want you to do. Open your banking app. Look at the last 90 days of transactions. Add up the food out. Add up the subscriptions. Look at your car payment. Look at your credit card statement. Look at your 401k contribution percentage. Then ask yourself, am I building the Tom and Susan column right now, or the Nico and Hazel column? Because the math doesn't care how you feel about it. It doesn't care that you meant to increase your contribution. Doesn't care that you were going to pay off that card next month. It doesn't care that everybody else is doing the same thing. The math compounds either way for you or against you, every single month. This video made something click for you. If you're looking at your car payment or your credit card statement a little differently right now, hit that like button. It helps the algorithm know this content is worth spreading. And drop a comment below. I'm genuinely curious. Are you closer to Nico and Hazel right now or closer to Tom and Susan? No judgment. I read every single one. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just me running the numbers out loud. If you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time. We do this kind of math every week, the real numbers behind the financial decisions that actually determine where you end up. Not get rich quick nonsense. Just the arithmetic your bank hopes you never do. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.